Hello, today I'm going to pitch my game Frikin the Laser Shark. Frikin the Laser Shark is a 2D side-scrolling underwater adventure game where the player must stay in motion to prevent damage and defeat enemies with lasers. In this game, the player will play as a shark named Frikin, who has a laser gun mounted on his head. When Frickin's lasers make contact with an enemy, they explode instantly. This explosion can damage Frikin if the player is not careful. The player can move Frikin around in any direction on the X or Y axis. They can also restore health by eating small sea creatures. The one and only level will feature exploration, giving the player choices of where they would like to go. Each route will have different enemies than the others, with deeper routes having more difficult enemies, and more shallow areas having easier enemies with smaller fish to eat to recuperate health. The only level will have a fair amount of size to it, with 3 boss characters scattered around it for the player to find. Some paths will have narrow passageways that reduce movement. If the player dies at any point on the map, they must start the whole level over again. The player must locate and defeat 2 bosses before the final boss, Frikin the flamethrower shark, will spawn on the map. The player must stay in constant motion like a true laser-toting great white. To prevent the player from spamming 2 directions constantly to prevent health loss, they must press all 4 input directions to be considered still in motion. If they stay in place for longer than half a second, they will begin to lose health at a rate of 1 heart per second until they expire. Enemies and health-restoring creatures will respawn after the player has moved at least 2 screens away from their original spawn location. The laser cannot be spammed by the player either. After each shot, 1 full Mississippi second must pass for it to recharge, so the player must make sure each shot is well placed. The player must watch out for freeze weapons from enemies as well. If shot by one, the player must quickly press several movement inputs for Frikin to free himself before they start losing health for not being in motion. The overall goal of the game is to defeat the evil Frikin the flamethrower shark to end the game. The antagonizing forces in the game are the armed sea life Frikin encounters. These enemies will have 2 states, patrol and attack. They will be destroyed with 1 single laser blast each. The explosions left in their wake of destruction by Frikin will act as another antagonizing force, as well as Frikin and his evil minions, which will serve as boss characters. They will have 4 states: patrol, attack, a brief immortal state after being damaged, and a near-death frenzy attack state. They will require multiple attacks to defeat. The player themselves will be the final antagonizing force if they do not stay in constant motion. The game is most similar to the classic Sonic the Hedgehog trilogy for its fast-paced gameplay, and Echo the Dolphin for its underwater exploration. The main difference between this game and those 2 is how Frikin must stay in constant motion or die, like a true great white, that is also armed with lasers. A risk for developing this game is keeping the balance of health and enemies while having the level populated enough for the player to have fun, as well as making the art so it preserves the intended feel in the short amount of time will be very risky because of the animations that will be needed for each of the enemies. The character models and various states for each can be made in Maya. This game will be a huge undertaking for a small team, but one I feel like will become something amazing if the right people with the right amount of skills, chemistry, and proper strength-weakness balance are put together for this. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.